Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy MKS here, and welcome to the third and penultimate part of my plans for empowering the Black community on Tuesdays, as often going with alliterations. If you're new, please subscribe, and I appreciate your likes and views and sharing of the video and whatnot. And I hope you get involved in the comment section and share your views, even if you disagree with me or whatever. If you want to offer constructive criticism or whatever else you might want to comment. Yeah, I think that covers everything for the intro. Actually, I was going to say, I saw something about a Black History Month quiz, and I thought it gave me an idea, or reminded me of an idea rather, which is to, I would love to interview and discuss with and talk to basically members of the Black community here in Britain and all around the world, especially in America for February if I could. I'd love to go to maybe next year I could go to America and discuss with talk about things with the African American community and talk about their experiences, Black Americans and whatnot, whatever term they prefer to be called. Probably not everyone likes that term, and talk about their experiences. And it'll be interesting to find out the differences between the experiences of African Americans and Black British people, basically Black people in America and Britain, whether they're first or second or third or whatever generation. Or whatnot, and I'd love to sometimes talk one-to-one with members of the Black community and Black people generally from different fields and walks of life, basically, and sometimes as a group, maybe have Zoom chats, which we could record to YouTube maybe and things like that. But anyway, I think that covers everything for the intro, hopefully. But anyway, I'm going to move on. Anything I might have forgotten to say, I'll cover in these points. So these are points, ideas, thoughts, plans, or whatever you want to call them. Let's just call them points, number 21 to 30. So here goes. So number 21, as the saying goes, 21 again. And due to my alliterations, I thought of, I'm not normally a big fan of culture, but I was thinking like talking about Black traditions, like what, I'd love to ask a question like, what do Black traditions mean to you? I'm using the word tradition instead of culture because it begins with T. But to me, culture / tradition means the same sort of thing. And to me, it means living in the past. Really, I prefer to look to the future, perhaps. Although it's quite scary looking to the future, but maybe we can learn from the past. But there's a lot of cultural stuff that I'm not too keen on. But it would be interesting to find and ask Black people like what does Black tradition, culture or tradition? Again, I'm using the word tradition because it's a Tuesday, like, and then with my alliterations, say. And also, I forgot to say in part two, there are a few career options I was thinking like which could empower Black Americans. So things like YouTube and TikTok and things like that. I know YouTube doesn't technically begin with a T, but for some reason it reminds me of T. I don't know why. But anyway, moving on, number 22. On that note, I'd say how can we empower more Black people on TikTok and YouTube? I read something recently, a title of a video. I didn't really watch the video so far, but I might watch it later, or at some point. But it said a harsh truth that not everyone can be involved in business, and sometimes people have got to do their 9 to 5, unfortunately. Which is scary. Each of those things are scary to me because I'm too laid back, but being a dull weather and all that. But I was thinking, what about alternative careers like TikTok, YouTube, and things like that? Could Black people support each other to monetize those channels? And I'd love to subscribe to Black TikTokers, well, YouTubers, sorry, because I'm not on TikTok, but also watch the fact that sometimes I watch Black TikTok when it's recorded to YouTube. Although I don't specifically watch TikTok itself, but those that are recorded under Black TikTok and that kind of thing. But if you know any Black YouTubers, I would say TikTokers, but I'm not on TikTok. I'm not subscribed to it, so I can't really subscribe to them. But I would love to subscribe to and just generally support channels of Black YouTubers and also support the Black community in any way I can, especially in America for February. Also, I was thinking like on the subject topic or whatever you call it of alliterations, I was thinking like, what if Black people ran their own train companies, travel companies, and things like that, and maybe had shares in those sorts of shares or equity or both in those sorts of companies, taking ownership over or having an ownership for having like shares and equity and that kind of thing. Talking about what I just discussed about how someone was mentioning that not everyone can be an entrepreneur, business person, or whatever. It's one financial Black empowerment advocate, Claude Anderson, talks about like Black people have got to learn how to create their own businesses rather than just seek work where they might not get those opportunities. And I think a few people, Dr. Boyce Watkins and a few others, talk about it. And maybe if they're pulled together, then even those who might not necessarily have the skills, experience, expertise and whatnot to run businesses, or even know what it takes, basically know what it takes, what effort, what work is involved, and might think it's easy, could have mentors and role models and teachers, trainers and whatnot in business to help them in the future, ASAP hopefully. So hopefully in the future there can be more black technologists and business people, entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call them. I use those terms interchangeably. Anyway, moving on, number 23. I'd love to know how businesses and organizations, investors and whatnot can invest in the black community in a way where they can be trusted. And once again, I've not mentioned this point before, but I would love for the black community to learn how to invest together and maybe have a trusted person who's a community leader who can ensure that the money they get can be reinvested. So as people say, like, it's good to have other people work for you and money work for you. And some say the attitude of the rich is to have like money work for you and other people work for you rather than work for money and work for other people. Again, I'd love to know what you think about that. And again, another point I mentioned recently is about how like Blackwater, which is I believe a company which is a military contractor basically, and they recently talked about apparently recolonizing Africa and Latin America, and I think maybe they could have pressure put on them to sort of apologize for saying such a thing by investing in Africa and Latin America, I suppose, as it is, in developing nations. But again, I know I mentioned that it would be hard to trust that that investment is going to be something which is not like a trick or a crafty sort of investment, which sort of is used to divide people or make them have to sign certain conditions. But again, maybe if there is a trusted black community leader, maybe even worldwide, they could ensure that money is invested shrewdly. That's a big word for me. On the subject of worldwide, 24, what if there was a worldwide black diaspora that invested together, learned from each other, and all that kind of stuff, but did so worldwide, not just in America or even just in the UK or even just in America and the UK, but from Africa, Latin America, Asia, Australasia, and wherever black people are all around the world, and how they could connect together, network together, even using the fact that there was enslaved, colonized, called the N-word and all that sort of thing. What if they used that to sort of turn it into a positive by networking together and sort of helping it to bring them together rather than having those divisions that they have? But they did that all around the world. It would be hard to see them connect, but it would be pretty cool if they could do so. Number 25, again, I would love for people to share, I know I mentioned this in part 2, but I would love for people to share what are the best sort of industries, trades and things like that could empower black people and how they could utilize some of the strengths they have, and maybe even like look at ways they could turn that into a business, like sports, music and other industries that black people have been involved in, how they could get to be involved in businesses and things like that. Maybe I'm being naive again, but I think that would be quite interesting. Number 26, the case for reparations. I think, again, I talked about Blackwater, but maybe looking at historical argument for reparations. I suppose there are probably a lot of arguments against such, but it'd be cool if they could get that funding with reparations or whatnot. And again, look at how they could reinvest in each other and support each other and make sure that they're not divided. On that subject, it just reminded me of a thought I had, which is like, I think whatever the white supremacists, neo-Nazis, far right, white wing extremists, or whatever you call them, whatever they want to see or whatever they want to do, I think we as people of color, POC, should do the opposite. So I think like they want to see us divided. I think that should make us unite. If I was a extreme right person, I'd probably want people of color to join the military for Western governments, because that would mean they would fight their own people. So I think people of color should do the opposite. Again, another controversial idea of mine. Number 27, maybe they could have like lists on websites. They could have like websites for black empowerment, YouTube channels specifically for black empowerment and things like that, where they list the top supporters of the black community. So on their websites, YouTube channels and other forms of social media or whatnot, I do try and stick to the alliteration things that begin with T, but I suppose it's not very business-like of me, which I'm trying to focus on more business as well, like banking and stuff like that. But again, listing the top supporters of the black community, those who support the black community. There could be like a heroes of the black community fund, or well, list. Sorry, let me rephrase that. There could be a list of the. There could be a heroes of the black community list. Like people could be like involved in like the legend tier or things like that. So probably not explaining it very well, but there could be like a list of the top 40, 50, or even 100 or whatever, or even 1,000 people who support the black community in different organisations and things like that. However long a list members of the black community think would be appropriate or worth having. Again, I hope that makes sense. Number 28, it'd be cool to see black people turn around their negative situation and see how more black people from poorer backgrounds especially could be empowered, what sort of things could empower them, and turn those negative situations from history into positives. Again, like using, I thought of a controversial idea where it's like black people could use the N-word to sort of, I mean, maybe they kind of do anyway, but they sort of change it, but maybe they could use that, again, I hope this makes sense, but maybe they could use that to sort of unite each other and say, since white supremacy is all the same, they don't just differentiate between, say, Nigerians and Kenyans and African Americans or whatever. Why don't we unite? Again, as I said in point number 24, like uniting together worldwide. I'd love to know what you think about that. Do you think I'm being naive? Do you think that's something that could be workable? And do you think that's something worth doing or whatnot? I think that'd be worth reading about. It'd be great to hear what people think about that. Hopefully in the politest way possible, as I say. Number 29, as ever, I'd love to read your suggestions about what you think and whatnot. And number 30, on that note, please do, as I say, get involved in the comment section. Please share any links for projects that can support, that can empower the black community, like black YouTubers and things like subscribing to their channels and just generally supporting their YouTube channels and things like that, which I normally try and do with people with channels like Blasphemous HD, whose real name I think is Maurice Bennett, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I hope I remembered all the points I was going to cover. If not, I'll probably cover them in part 4 or some other time. But anyway, peace and love. I'm out.